I want to welcome everybody that's come out tonight. I want to talk about something that I had the opportunity to travel to a church in Missouri. I saw that Wayne is on. Wayne, I really appreciate you being out here. But I'm going to talk about something that you and I kind of talked about, and it's just really kind of gotten, um, I don't know, it really bothered me because of some of the stuff that we kind of went through. And it's not only there in Missouri where I was up there at Christian Overlook. I it was that there was it's just all around the country. It seems that this is happening, and so because of that, we're going to get into it in a little bit. But right now, what I want to do is I want to let Jessica talk about a couple of current events that we kind of saw and want to pay attention to.
So the first one that we have is there was an incident. I'm trying to find what state it was in, but there was an incident where somebody was, it was in New York. A woman was at church donating clothes on a Saturday night, and somebody broke into her car and tried to steal it. And there was an altercation. They were fighting. And then the owner of the car got ran over by the woman that was stealing it. It's still really fuzzy about what exactly happened, because I think the woman who was driving the car kind of sped off, but then crashed like not far down the road. But still, that happened in a church parking lot. And so that's just, again, we talk about this all the time, but consider your parking lot, consider the area that your church is in, especially if you have kind of donations outside where people can be driving by late at night. Just things to consider. And then the second one that we had, and definitely still kind of finding out what happened here, but there was a kidnapping of a 3-month-old baby. And the reason why we're bringing it up is because the suspect met the 3-month-old's grandmother through church and became obsessed with him. And so we bring it up because there was that connection made at a church, and they said that that behavior started while they were at church. And so that's just something as a safety team to look out for if you see, really in any situation where somebody who is not a family member paying extra attention to or being just a little too close with any minors is just something to keep an eye out as a safety team, especially when there might be mental health issues involved. And so those are the only two current events that we have for tonight, but we'll be sending them out in the current events email, and we'll be sending out any more that come along pretty soon on Sunday.
All right, thank you, Jess. So last week I had the opportunity to travel up to Missouri, in Hillsboro, Missouri, and I went to a beautiful little church in the countryside called Christian Outreach Church. And they had, I believe it was 67 acres of property. I mean, it was beautiful. It was just really beautiful. And what was unique about the church, and I show this picture, I found it, is that their church is in the round, and it was just really cool. It was just something that was unique. I'd never seen before, but the speaker stood in the middle of the church and spoke, of course, to those around him. And it was kind of like the music was behind him, but it was just neat. It was very unique. But Wayne and I were talking, and something that he said just really kind of bothered me, because let me kind of tell you what the process is for us when we go and speak at a church. And I'm just really kind of disappointed in what we kind of ran into, because we personally contacted people that had been at our church before that were just a little, I mean, maybe an hour away. And we invited them. I mean, we considered them friends, and they were kind of like, yeah, we'd love to see you. We'd love to see you. Well, I think it's that we'd love to see you and not we will see you that maybe is the thing that I need to really start paying attention to. Because no, I mean, we had people at Christian Outreach Church who really just a great group of people, lovely people, and it was just so much fun to be around them. But Wayne said something that really struck me, and he said it was breaking the denominational barrier. And I kind of thought about it, and I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days, and I'm really kind of a little bit upset about it. But it's not only the denominational barrier, it's just the barrier of churches who feel like they don't need to be involved in this or don't need to share information. Now, when we talk about the denominations, I get a little confused here, because we all believe in Christ. I mean, that is the thing. Jesus Christ is the center point of our church. This is how we are all together. If it were not for Jesus Christ, we wouldn't be sitting here talking together today. I would have not been in Missouri. I would not been over in Vine Life just the other day in Hernando County. I mean, all these different things that we are doing together, all of us are doing together, is only because of Jesus Christ's death, burial, and resurrection. I mean, yeah, we might have had a God. There might have been something out there, but that was more of the Jewish community. It was Jesus Christ that has brought all of us together. So we have to understand that we've got to quit that barrier. It does not matter the denomination. It really, truly does not. And I'm kind of getting tired of it because we work with anybody and everybody who has a house of worship where they're concerned about the people that are inside that church. And we want to make sure that everybody is together on this. We want to make sure that everybody understands that that is the primary purpose of Trinity Security Allies and reaching out to the churches that we reach out to all the time. I mean, to be at Vine Life the other day was just really great because it's just good to see the safety team members out there. But once again, we reached out to multiple churches. I mean, we put a lot of work in reaching out, but it seems like it's falling on deaf ears. And of course, when all of a sudden an incident happens, then everybody comes out of the woodwork, it seems like, to want to talk about church safety. And so I want us to pray on this as safety team members, safety team leaders. We need to be praying on this because we've been seeing what is going on around our community, and we just have to make sure that we're talking to each other. Now, I talk about this in my testimony that when I went and worked for the town of Bel Air, now I had been with the city of Norfolk, and I knew there were 7 cities all total in the Toddwater area. And I knew people from every single jurisdiction because of my tenure there, of being there. Whether it had been crisis negotiation because we worked together when we had training, we would have the FBI come in and all the jurisdictions would come together and we would train. Whether it was when I was with systems development, we were working on computer and sharing data and getting that together. I always knew people in different jurisdictions. There was a contact that I always had. When I went and started working for the town of Bel Air, and I'm just kind of like showing this a little bit here. If you look, you see that right here is the town of Bel Air. So to my north was Clearwater. To my east was Largo, and to the south, even though it says Bel Air Bluffs here, it was really Pinellas County. So when I went there, I didn't know anybody. So the first thing I started to do was go to burglary meetings where all the agencies would get together. Now, the hilarious thing, and I mean, I kind of joke about this, but I'm being as serious as I can. There were agencies that did not get along with each other. They didn't even want to talk to each other. We would have these meetings and Largo would talk and it was like Pinellas County would look the other way. And it was just kind of like a joke. But everybody got along with me. I know it's because of Christ. I mean, it was just the way that I approached things, the way that I was professional about it and didn't get into territories and jurisdictions and things like that. But I cannot tell you how many cases that we would have, like say to our north here where Clearwater is, we would have vehicle burglaries all up in this area. And I would find out Clearwater was having the same issue. And then we'd start collaborating together. And the next thing you know, we would come up with a suspect. We had this happen all the time on all jurisdictions, every single one of them. When we would have crime in the town of Bel Air, I was for sure that there was probably something going on in the other agencies. So we shared information. We made arrests together. I mean, that was just the great thing about it, was just all these people that we worked together and we started sharing information together. And the next thing you knew, we were making arrests. So these are the things that, I mean, I know that we're not going to be making arrests, but what I do want us to do is I just want us to think about all the things that we're doing and make sure that we share as much as we possibly can to other jurisdictions. Make sure, or other churches, going back to my police work here, but other churches, share everything that we can to make sure that they're getting the information. Now, The reason why I bring this up is Scott Lake Baptist Church has had an incident this last weekend, and one of the persons of interest that walked through their church had come from another church, and they remembered that we had talked about it. It had come from All Saints Episcopal Church. This person had been there before, and they remembered it and kind of got in touch with them and kind of remembered the name, but didn't have the complete name. But this person walked around, didn't talk to anybody, made maybe one or two comments to somebody inside the church, but other than that was very suspicious. So this person could be going from church to church. The thing with, when we talk about the police departments, bad guys don't know jurisdictions. They don't care that, you know, the Pinellas Trail divided Largo and Bel Air. They could care less. If there was a adjoining street that had vehicles on both sides and doing vehicle burglaries, they were doing it. If they came across the trail to break into a house in Bel Air, it didn't mean that they just didn't walk across the trail and break into a house over in Largo. So when we have these people that like to take advantage, and we've talked about this and we've showed this, we have history of this, to where we see people that go to one church, take advantage of that church. When that church kind of says, okay, no more, they go to another church and take advantage of that church. We just trespassed a person in our church right now that I know that he has been to 3 other local churches. Now, does he cause trouble in those local churches? I don't know, but I know that he's been there, and I have people that have told me that he's been there. And plus he posts on Facebook when he goes into these other churches. But we had to trespass him because he was disruptive, and there was nothing really, that was the only thing we could do, because every time he had an opportunity to speak his case, he was going to do it, and it caused a lot of concern. So when we see what's going on, when we're sitting and talking, we see a lot of mental illness that's happening around here right now. And if we don't start paying attention to people coming into our church and sharing it with other people, and this is why we got to be praying about it. This is why we've got to be working on it. This is why if you meet somebody, a friend of yours that goes to another church, and I don't really want to hear, yeah, we've got the best security ever because we hired the police officers. That's just fine and dandy. So do we. We hire them to handle our traffic. But Easter, we didn't have an officer there. We didn't have a deputy there. They were too busy elsewhere. And if they get tied up at something that they all have to go to, you're on your own. You're on your own. And this is why we have to have safety teams. We keep seeing it over and over that mental illness is really starting to show up, and they're going to go from one church to another because they're going to try to pull whatever they're doing at different churches to try to get the reaction that they're looking for. We had I say gentleman, but he came to a church. He ripped them off for gas money. As I was sitting there talking to a friend of mine from another church, this church had sent me a picture of the guy. As I was standing there talking to another friend of mine, Christian friend of mine, that goes to another church, he said, let me see that picture. I showed it to him, and he went right off the bat. He goes, yep, he hit me too. And then we had a networking meeting, and we found out that he had hit 2 other churches. Just here recently, we found out that the guy that we trespassed, that a Radiant church knew of him. So I don't understand why we're not getting together. It's going to take an incident. And that's what scares me more than anything else. I really, really want us to start working together and start trying to get the word out. And somehow let's pray on it. Let's put it together. I'm going to talk about something that we're doing next week. I really want everybody that is in the Polk County area to be there. And I'll tell you in a minute, a little bit about it, but I just want us to start thinking about, how do we break the barrier? How do we break the barrier to where we get churches to come together and start talking about the safety, not only of their congregation, but of every congregation? Because think about it just for 1 minute. If you had a violent person that showed up at your church, if you had a person that came in and tried to steal a child at your church, like Jessica was talking about, and you were able to stop that from happening, and they went to another church that is not involved in our group, and it's not a part of ours. I mean, this is why we talk about Ezekiel, about the watchman on the tower blowing the trumpet for the warning, because we need to be screaming out here from the rooftops, from the walls, and telling people about the need to network, even if they don't come to the training, to at least network with each other. I don't care if you think that you're the best person in the whole wide world. I will tell you this right now, where people think I'm the expert at it, I'm still studying it. I mean, I'm reading a book right now on body language and things like that, because I got to continuously learn what to be able to look for, to share it with you. Jessica and I have to go online and listen to these news reports and all these different things like that of things that could affect the churches, incidents that are happening in churches that might affect all of us. And it's just that we need to be networking together, sharing information. Like I said, even if they don't come to the trainings that we do, just come to the networking. And once we get them there, maybe they will see that we really need to share more information and talk about more issues. Because as I said, there's just the reason why we are together is because of Jesus Christ. That's just all there is to it. I can't stress this enough, that God has placed every single one of you that are on the webinar tonight, every single one of you that are on here, God has placed it upon your heart to be that servant, that watchman. Who am I to send? Send me. I mean, this is who we are, but it just gets really frustrating that churches are not talking to us when we have incident after incident after incident happening from one church to the next to the next. One of the things that I talked about when I was at Vine Life just in Brooksville just the other night was that there was a guy that was calling in Amarillo, Texas, calling, asking for prayer, and then doing a bomb threat, threatening the churches with bombs. Well, it ends up that he ended up going to Waco and doing the same thing. So they go to different jurisdictions. When we see these vandalisms that happen at one church, it goes to another church or goes to another church. But when we see these people, these wolves in sheep clothing that come into a church and make everybody nervous, but you know, and we go back to Nehemiah, because this is what it is. When our enemies heard that God had foiled their plans, we went on and did our worship. We went on and rebuilt the wall. And so when these people do walk into a place like Scott Lake, where everybody is attuned to what is happening and paying attention, this person may not come back again. We've had it happen over and over and over again. We got audited during the Christmas time where the Omicron virus was spreading and people were worried again what we were going to do. Guy came in video just to show how close we were and how big the crowd was and how big we were together. But he hasn't been back. We confronted him. We talked to him. We asked him what he was doing. And of course he lied, but we know what was going on, but he has not come back. So when we know of their plans and we spoil their plans, they don't come back to us, but they're going to go to another church. One of the reasons why we started this networking is because I went to a church to talk to them about a guy that had come into our church and described their church to a T, described the stained glass, the cross, everything. And then he even mentioned that they were on the Keystone Road. And I went to them and I said, listen, I just want to talk to y'all. I want to invite y'all to talk, because we found out some guys been going back and forth. And the lady that I was talking to stopped me and said, Generations Christian Church. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, you sent us a sexual offender. I knew exactly who she was talking about. And if we'd have been networking at that time, maybe we could have kept him out of all churches. He went to that church. He started to do the things that he was doing at our church. But during that time frame, he got arrested for molesting another child. It just, it wasn't inside the church, but he got arrested and now he's serving life in the penitentiary. But we see these things all the time and we need to be breaking these barriers. And I don't know, I am open for suggestions, because there's a lot of you out here that are sharing your stuff left and right. When we come to your church, you have people that show up and Vine Life. I mean, I know that we all tirelessly worked on trying to get people to that training. And it's not any fault of ours. Like I said, when I went to Missouri, I had what I still would consider them friends, but they were telling me, yeah, we're going to come. And then they just don't show up. So I don't like, help me here. I'm kind of lost, because we need to be getting the word out. We need to be sharing this information. Tell me if there's something that you think that we can do as Trinity Security Allies. Let me know, because I really, really want to start sharing the information to more churches. Even if we just get together and talk about things that we are having happen at our church, or ways that we're preventing things, or ways that we're working on things that seem to be doing well inside the church. policies and procedures, anything that we can work on together, that we can share, that we can get it out here to help protect the flock. So Jessica, any questions?
I am not seeing anything right now.
Well, Tim
It looks
raised
like
his hand.
Yeah, I was gonna
I-
say, it looks like Tim raised his hand and Ed Kern said possibly a local incident section on the weekly report. Yes, I will put something out in the weekly report. We kind of sent something out in the online notifications. So we're going to be sending out more. I'm going to reach out and see if we can get more information about what happened, but I'm also going to be sending that out in the current events. And then if throughout the week or on Sundays, there are any events that happen at your church that you think that we should be aware about, or you think that we should be networking, please reach out to me, because I will send those out in the Sunday emails. And then if it is something that we think should go out now, I will send it out to all of the online notification emails. And so, yeah, we're gonna be doing that. We do that. So please, if you have stuff, send it out. Then Ed said, we send you incidents for you to post that have happened at our churches. Yes, yeah. We also have the Church Safety Networking Facebook page. It's really only been current events that we see in the news, but we would love to have stuff that we can post out locally, because that is kind of the initial goal of it. So please be sending us anything that you hear, anything that happens at your church, and we will get it out to as many churches as possible.
All right, I'm going to regret this. I know I am, but I'm going to allow Tim to talk. So y'all hang on. Here we go. All right, Tim, you're on.
So, oh, there we go. Okay, just real quick, just something that we're working on in Polk County to share with you with this regard of reaching out. And Jim, you and I have talked about making inroads in our particular association. And what we're finding is that, and I'm just now getting rosters of church information within my own 75 church association, and I'll be more than happy to share that with you guys. I'm also doing my own contacts. The other thing is we've got to identify, excuse me, the different pastoral associations that are interdenomination, that cross denominational lines throughout each community. Some are active, some are not. I'm finding I'm having to go back and dredge up some contacts, both here in the Lakeland area, Mulberry area, and Bartow area. So as we do that, and we can find some life in that, we will share that with you.
Let me ask you a quick question here. I got to look up a name. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
It was sent to me today. That supposedly is Rebecca Klein. Do you know who that is?
Yes. Yeah, she's the administrative assistant at our associational office.
Okay. She's also involved in the pregnancy center there. A woman's choice.
Probably so. Yes.
Okay. All right. Because if you know her, reach out to her too.
Yeah. She works in our associational office. I'm working with her and our associational director, Dr. excuse me, Dr. Richard Williamson.
Okay.
And so we're trying to hit the pastor meetings that occur every month. And again, every community, every county has these type of groups. And so we're just going to have to find a way to identify them in this Central Florida area. And I'm going to try it here in Polk County, and I'll let you know how it works.
All right. All right.
Go ahead.
No, go
I
ahead.
was going to say there's another chat from Ed Kern. He said, any legal issues with posting reports on Facebook? Definitely not with the current events, because that's all public information. I'm not aware if we have ever posted something that was sent in on the Facebook, because normally we do keep those to email unless we think that it's something that needs to be out on Facebook. But if that does come up, normally, unless we need to, we kind of keep the names quiet unless we know the names. But if it's an event that we think needs to get out as soon as possible to as many churches as possible, we'll post it on Facebook. But normally we do kind of keep it to emails, kind of for those reasons. And also the Church Safety Network group on Facebook is a private group, so it's not a public group. So also we try to keep it contained there as well.
And Ed, I can add this. When you make a report in your church, you can have the information of the name and the different things like that. And if you don't want us to post the names, then what we can do as far as that on the Facebook is to just say on this date, you had an incident where a person, whether it be male, female, whatever you want to put. And for more information on this, contact us. You can send us the information. We'll be very selective of who we give it to. Like if Tim were to call me and say, hey, I just read this and this sounds like something that might be going on in our area, then I would make sure that y'all two talk and we would give them the information. But it is a closed group. It's not going to be that it's out there for public consumption. And we do kind of want to keep, I mean, you really need to have some documentation, because if somebody were to come back and say, hey, did you say something about me on this? Well, yeah, this is what happened. This is the date. Make it an official document. And like I said, we'll protect. We have situations that we just post pictures because we don't post names. Sometimes we don't know the names. I mean, we just Colonial Baptist down in Venice had that situation with the lady, and I don't think they ever got a real name from her. She said multiple different names, but there were some pictures given out. So that would be on the lookout. I don't see any problems with it. I don't see any issues. Like I said, we're not going to share it directly to those that,
Yeah, and I'll also say too, like Dad was saying, we've had it happen a couple of times where we send out something in the emails and we don't give names. We just give kind of a short summary of what happened. And we've had people email us and say something similar is happening. And so we get them in contact. So information that you don't want out, we don't put out unless somebody comes back and says, we're having the same thing happen. Can you shoot me over the information? And even then you're kind of in control of what you give them too. So we are pretty good about that. But yeah.
all right,
I see
anybody
no
else?
other questions in the chat or in the Q&A, but I will keep looking until the end if
Sure.
anybody has any last things.
All right, let's talk about some upcoming events. Scott Lake Baptist Church on Saturday, May the 7th. I want to talk about this just for a second. Anybody in that area, let's make sure that we get the word out, because the love offering that we're going to be asking for, this is a love offering event. We're going to be asking for everybody for some sort of donation, is going to go to Main Street Baptist Church, which if you've been listening or hearing about it, their sanctuary was burned down it was destroyed. It was a vandalism. It was a lady that came out and poured gasoline on the church and then set it on fire. We'll be out there Saturday, May the 7th from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock p.m. So please get the word out. Everybody in the Lakeland, the Polk County area, we need them to come in to this training. And like I said, all money goes towards Scott Lake. Vine Life Christian Church, we're going to be there Tuesday, June the 7th from 7 o'clock p.m. to 9 o'clock. We're going to be coming back down there and doing some more training with them. We're going to be doing, I believe, a threat profiling. I think that's, Ed, that's what you were talking about, doing that again. So people start to it sinks back in what we're looking at as far as what comes in your door, what to be looking at. Then Saturday, June the 11th from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. We're going to be at New Day Christian Church and down in the Port Charlotte area. And we're really excited about going down there, and we're hoping for another big event down there. Okay. Talk about this all the time, and we're really pushing it. They are a sponsor of us now. They help us out. They help it to where we can go to churches that do not have the funds to support us. We appreciate your support. We cherish your support. You mean a lot to us. These are churches that we would not be doing a lot of things that we do as far as like member online or being able to call us at any time to talk about any incident that is happening. But if you drive a car and have insurance and you carry a weapon, you should have some sort of insurance that protects you. It has changed since what it used to be. There used to be a limitation on the amount of money. Now it is unlimited. The court fees, the attorney fees, all that is unlimited. And also their training is really good. It's just very, very impressive. We do have some resources out. Everybody knows about our resources. But if you know of a church that talks to you that says that they're interested in putting together a safety team or ask you how you do it, they're visiting you. This is how we've gotten out to other areas and other churches. We went to Zion, Illinois, because they went to a church in St. Pete and saw the safety team and says, how do y'all do this? And they said that they'd come to one of our trainings. So anybody that talks to you about it, tell them that there's free resources out there. Book is still out there doing well. Hopefully, if you want one or know somebody that wants one, Father's Day is right around the corner, and this is a great gift for Father's Day. Just think about it. It's also good for Mother's Day too. So True Christian Talk, we are now on Rumble, and we have free speech on Rumble, and it's great. But we're talking about things that Christians really need to be paying attention to. And this was just one of these that we talked about today. Of course, everybody's been talking about this, but it was just something that it really tied a lot of it together, because we've been saying all along that they have been trying to, they have cut Christians out. They kind of keep our speech down. They don't let us say the things that we want to say. And with the incident that's going on, or the thing that's going on with Twitter and Elon Musk, you can see what we've been talking about. And now if you listen to them, they're even admitting it. That the one commentator was talking about how, what would happen if they blocked information of a certain event that would change the way a presidential election would go, and we don't find out about it 2 years later. And it's like, really? Are you really going to say that right now? Because isn't that the same thing that y'all kind of did to us for the longest time? So we're out, like I said, on Rumble. Come on out. It's rumble.com/True Christian Talk. You can find us right there. All right. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Please pray for the expansion of this whole ministry among us. We are here together. We are working together for the same cause. We are working to share information and to protect the flock and expand the kingdom of God. And if we don't do exactly what we're talking about doing, then we just might as well stop now. But I'm not going to give up faith. I'm not going to give up hope. I think that we're just getting started, and I think times are changing and people are going to want to talk more. So is there anything else out there, Jess?
Nothing else out there.
I want to thank you for coming out. I want to thank you, all of you that are out here. I pray for you all the time. Every time I think about you, I say a specific prayer for your church and a specific prayer for you. So I want you to understand that you're always on our hearts and always on our mind. And we look forward to coming to you real soon. So take care. God bless, and be safe out there.